Hello, BookTube. I've been wanting to talk about the state of my library for quite a while now. So, over the course of 2023, my library has changed quite a bit. I added three new bookcases, um, two of whom are at the end of the other wall that has traditionally been called the history wall, but is now currently the manga wall. And another one that I was lucky to have picked up for me from a yard sale, which is now currently in the hall next to the big one that I bought last year. Um, I also completed the first major book purge of my time on BookTube. I have done the occasional large book purge previously, but this was probably the largest and most like at the same time. And so at the time I had about 14 something, like 1,430 ish. I don't quite remember the exact number, but the books unhauled were about 92. So it took me down to the low to mid 1300s. However, I did bounce back and added about 200 more books since that book purge. I am currently at 1,546. So, The New Roman Empire by Anthony Caldelis was the 1,546th book. Although in the catalog it's not there because the catalog is not, as the books come in, it's weird. It's basically how I have my catalog is it's the writing books and I think maybe the art books. It might just be the writing books first. And then it's fiction and nonfiction, poetry, drama, alphabetized. And then the art books, the cookbooks, the manga, and whatever I want to consider the Aeneid by Majito is the last one. So I have 1,546 books. And I'm kind of I'm a bit unhappy that I didn't um, do a special for the first time I crossed the 1,500 mark, although I am fully intending to go backwards and go to about the 1400s to maybe even high 1300s by the time I do my next book purge, which is coming up. I had intended to do another large book purge at the beginning of next year, but I managed to get a number of boxes in that I intended to use to pretty much store the books I'm going to donate. So I currently have 5 donation boxes of Doom ready to go, and I'm going to work on a 6th either today or tomorrow. And so far, the total is 108 books that I'm going to donate. I'll probably get another 25 or so with this next box. And then hopefully in the next few weeks, I'll be able to take them to the local Friends of the Library and donate them there to either be put into the library circulation or for the next Friends of the Library book sale, which will come in November of next year. The books that are being purged. So the first book purge, the majority of the books were from the classics, modern, and contemporary fiction, poetry, drama section of my library, and the science fiction and fantasy section of my library. This book purge will see a small number, a minority being from my history collection. largely because I currently have my history collection on this wall behind me, and it could not fit all of the books that were on the other wall. So I had to donate about 30 books I had to remove. And those books, and I'll talk about those books once I get to the Purge haul video, or the Purge video. And then the rest, the vast majority, like right now it's 76 books, but it will expand. Probably would end up being over 100 books in its own right, will be science fiction and fantasy. I am going on a massive culling of my science fiction and fantasy collection. And if you've been following along with my channel for any length of time, you'll probably know that this massive purge was a long time coming, because while science fiction and fantasy has been my favorite genre or genres of fiction for a very long time, not only as adult literature, but also in children's literature, in film, television, comics, manga, that in 2019 I started to fall out of love with prose science fiction and fantasy. And my interest, my enjoyment hasn't recovered. And it's well past time that I face up to that fact and go ahead and just clear out the books that of science fiction fantasy that I have no interest in getting to. Now, maybe the spark will come back, the interest will come back, and I'll kick myself in the butt for getting rid of them and eventually rehaul them. And maybe not. We shall see. I know if this is anything like what happened with detective fiction when I was a teenager, it might never come back. Which is something I will have to address when I do my reading plans for 2024, because I don't know if I really should participate in March Mystery Madness, since I really have no interest in reading mysteries right now. And I really haven't in a very long time, in a sustained way. So, anyway. So, with this big, massive purge of science fiction and fantasy that is ongoing, that's going to allow me to rearrange some things here in my library. So for the past few months, a part of my science fiction and fantasy collection has been out in the hall. There's a space in front of my bedroom door that allows me to put a large bookcase and a mid-sized one in that space. And I've had it filled with science fiction and fantasy for quite a few months now. But that wasn't all of my science fiction and fantasy collection. The rest of my collection is in this room in a two-sided shelving unit, or an open-ended shelving unit that I'm using as a double-sided bookcase. So my plan for Friday, hopefully there will be a live stream or a longer video I can watch while I'm doing this. But I'm planning to either try to fit, once I do this final box 6 of my library purge, to either try to fit those books that are currently in this room out into the hall with the others. Or failing that, try to basically, if I fail at that, I will move the classics, modern, and contemporary fiction, poetry, drama section which is currently in the bookcase that my brother built. Basically, I'll move them into the hall and move what's left of science fiction and fantasy from the hall into that bookcase. And then see how things work. And then I'll probably have space for more books. Although, whether or not that means, which I probably don't think it will mean, more science fiction and fantasy coming in. I think it probably will be a steady attritional sort of condensing of my science fiction and fantasy collection to largely those books that I cannot bear to part with, even though my interest in reading them might be nil or nearly nil at the moment, and would also give me more space for classics, modern, contemporary fiction, poetry, and drama. Even though, given my problems with literary fiction and classics, whether or not that space is necessary is up for debate, because I really should also be looking at purging that part of my library as well. I don't know if before the end of the year there will be further ping-ponging between my manga collection and my history collection, between this wall behind me and the wall that has traditionally been the history wall and is now currently the manga wall. This is now currently the history wall. Because the wall on the other side of my bed is, it's like, no matter what books I put there, whether it's history or manga, I like how they look. This wall, it's got some issues. As far as the manga is concerned, it's this blasted bookcase right here, which is another open-ended shelving unit that I'm using as a bookcase. It's just, there's something about it and the other bookcase that's like it, where unless you fill that shelf, the books will want to tip over. Even really big, sturdy, beefy books will fall over. And it annoys me immensely, particularly if it's manga, because how I want to organize my manga shelves is by series. So, like for right now on the other wall, I have Tsubasa, Full Metal, Demon Slayer, My Hero Academia, The Seven Deadly Sins, Magi, Naruto, even though Naruto will eventually go into a second shell because it's 72 volumes long. I mean, Fairy Tail's gone on to a second shelf, and that's 63, so. Jujutsu Kaisen and Taliban Hanako-kun, all on separate shelves. Although in many cases I have other series that I'm collecting kind of next to them to sort of fill up those shelves. But I like how it looks. And I can't really do that on this wall, even with this annoying bookcase right here. But the problem with the history is that this wall does not have enough space for all of my history books, which is why about 30 of them are going to be put into a donation box, and that still pretty much fills up this space. I managed to fight for some extra space Monday when I removed lamp that had been on my headboard bookcase. So now I have enough space for 2 beefy hardbacks, or maybe 1 super mammoth. Or I guess in this case it would be a behemoth. Probably about the size of the Soviet Century, or give or take, if like for just the one. So I kind of, like, if I want more history, which I do, I'm going to have to figure out what to do. So again, I don't know if there's going to be any more ping-ponging between history and manga. If it does happen, it won't be this week. That's largely going to be devoted to moving my science fiction and fantasy, and probably classics, modern, and contemporary. Going forward, I do want to continue adding more bookcases. I know for sure this shelving unit right here, I want to get rid of. I want to replace it with a bookcase that will fit into that space. That would be a 5-shelf bookcase with maybe a little bit of space at the top. So that's the main goal. I would also like to, I think, put a bookcase here, and then another one on that wall there. Unfortunately, that space is where my desk is, and that's I want to get rid of my desk because it's starting to fall apart. But the problem is I don't know where I would put my computers and my tablet. For one thing, so that's an issue there. Another issue is what to do with my printer, which is admittedly a piece of poo, but it kind of works on occasion. And the other stuff that I have on that desk, the knickknacks and the drawer, and there is a little small 2-shelf bookcase built into the desk that I have my writing and art books. Although I really should be probably wiping out those writing books. I really shouldn't have any of them in my collection. And probably I need to take a harder look at my art books as well. So yeah, hopefully I will be able to add a few more bookcases next year, at least the one to replace this one. But it would be nice if I could get this space here with a bookcase and a smaller one on the other wall. And then I think I would be good for bookish space. And it would be a while before I had to worry about another purge. Although, I guess really maybe I don't know if I should do like a big purge when I run out of space, or like a running purge where I'll get a box in, and my mom gets in about a box or two a month that are perfect for putting books in, and just have like a running sort of collection of, okay, these are the books that will be going out of my library, and just donate them. And hopefully their next home will enjoy them as much or more than I did. So that is my thoughts and reflections on my library. And for as much trouble as I have had trying to make this video, I am overjoyed that it finally worked. Yes. Hopefully I will have as much luck with discussions about other topics. We shall see. Wish me luck. Anyway, BookTube, that's all I have for today. Until I see you tomorrow, thank you, have a great afternoon, and stay safe.